It's so good to have you. How are you doing today, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so can you give us a little about your background? Introduce yourself to the world.
Well, I'm engineer Deji Doherty. I was born in Ibadan, but I come from Popo Agoda in Lagos. I come from the Doherty dynasty in Lagos Island. You know, the Brazilian quarters. You know, if you know where that is, that's Campus Square. You know, our family house is just right at the middle there. You know, so there's no ambiguity whether I'm a Lagosian or not. I'm a core Lagosian. You understand? I'm 57 years old. I went to Mary Hill Convent School, which was a Catholic school in Ibadan, and then left there, went to Lagos, came to Lagos to CMS Grammar School, Bariga, Lagos. I finished up at CMS Grammar School, and then I went to the United States. I went to Illinois Institute of Technology. I also went to Central State University in Ohio, Xenia, Ohio, and I graduated with a BS in Industrial Engineering. Okay. When I finished there, I fell in love with agriculture. So I went to the farm with one of my professors whose father willed him a farm, you know, and I was there for a year. So I got to know about shellers, dryers, all the machineries that go with farming, you know. So I came to Nigeria to do my youth corps. I did my youth corps at triplex safety class in Ibadan. And once I finished, during that time, I set up my company, which you are right now in, which was called Doagro Allied International. We were mainly agricultural company based. What we were doing the same thing I saw in America, which was shelling and drying of maize for the different farmers. I visited different farms, Ashamu farms, Ajala farms, CHI farms, you know, Obasanjo farms. I was a contractor on all these farms. And their farms were spread over from Fiditi, Oyo, Awe, Ogumosho, Shaki, you know, Iwo, Akure. This is where we call the food belt, you understand, of the Southwest. And that was where I was for a couple of years. Before I came down to Lagos, I worked with a company called Cargill Incorporated. Cargill was the largest commodity trading company in the world. You know, so at the age of 27, I was already working as the manager in charge of purchasing for the entire South. Our budget, my budget for my department alone was close to about $60 million at the age of 27. You know, so I was the purchasing manager South. I later became purchasing manager East, which took me into the East. In the East, I lived in Omaha, I lived in Oka, Inewi, Abriba, Abakaliki, One, Port Harcourt, Onitsha, Calabar, because I was buying rubber for Cargill. I was also buying palm kernel for Cargill. You understand, among a lot of other things. So I did that, and then I rose up to the purchasing manager North. While I was a purchasing manager North, I drove through the entire North, from Katsina, Fontua, Pambegua, Saminaka, Biu, Kaduna, Kano, and I lived in all these places in Jos off and on. You know, so it hurts me when people talk about Nigeria, and for people like us that have been through the length and breadth of this country, we are so rich in natural resources, we are so rich in agricultural resources, and we are so rich in population. So what's our problem? You understand? So I worked there for, I think, about 3-4 years, rose up and decided to become a contractor from the outside. You know, so I was a contractor with Cargill for a while before Cargill decided to leave Nigeria. So my break came when Cargill handed over the company commodities to me and said I should sell and repatriate the money after selling. They gave me 6 months to sell, but I sold in 2 months. So I had almost $60 million in my hand at the age of 29. And then I became an importer of rice and sugar. So that was how I started up my company. We were able to grow. We were able to import vessel loads of sugar, rice. We were able to give Aliko Dangote a run for his money, which he can testify, I'm sure, if he wants to be honest. Aliko, I know you'll be honest anyway. So we did all this. My colleagues then were Samad Rabiu, Isaku Rabiu, Mederibe. We had the church gate. We had quite a lot of people, including Olam, which was one of our major suppliers at that time. We did that, and here we are. We are in manufacturing, in plastics, and different other things, entertainment, and different other things. Now, while I was doing that, I got into meeting a lot of people on the grassroots, because these are the people that you trade with. However, I had to always give out stipends to assist them, paying maternity bills, paying hospital bills for women that had had kids and they couldn't release them out of the hospital, paying for school fees, paying for uniforms and things like that. And I thought this should be something that government should be able to provide. You understand? And I tried my best, but my best definitely cannot be good enough because it's just me. You understand? So I decided, let me try my hands on joining policymakers to get them to understand that the common man is the person that government should provide for, so that the privileged can have peace of mind. If the common man is not taken care of, then the privileged can never have peace. You understand? And that is why we're here.
Gathering from everything, your experience and all the things you've done at a very young age, how do you intend to bring all of these things into the economy? Like to deal with the economical mess we are right now, tax fairness and the likes. How do you want to infuse all of these things?
Well, like I said, one of the reasons, this is not my first time running for governor of Lagos State. This is probably my third time that, I've been an aspirant, I've not been a candidate. I've been in one party, and that's the PDP. You understand? Now, how? The only way I believe I could do it is by me being in that position where I can lay an impact. I can transfer my vision on my members of the House of Assembly, on to my commissioners, and all to the leaders of thought that are in the various local governments. For example, I will not be paying 800 million naira for running generators to power lights in Lagos State like we are doing right now. I will do it in a different way. We have a lot of companies that have excess capacity. You understand? I can give them tax breaks and utilize their excess capacity. You understand? For instance, again, I cannot be a governor of a state that has close to 50 billion in IGR and raise a debt portfolio of close to 2 trillion naira. That is killing. No matter what you say, no matter how buoyant a state is, I hear the governor say we have the capacity to manage or to fund a 2 trillion debt profile. What is the capacity? The capacity is you and I, the taxpayers. Once your debt portfolio continues to rise, your people continue to suffer. And it's a symbiotic oppression. You raise your debt, you become a slave to the debt. I have said it on my first 100 days in office, I will reduce the debt profile of Lagos State to a minimal amount. I won't say that amount now because I don't know that amount, but I will reduce it considerably that Lagos State will have funds, extra funds for the youth, for education, for housing, for power, for women empowerment, for youth empowerment. You understand? Yes. And for a lot of other things that need to be done. Another thing that I've said is that you don't have a state that has a 50 billion naira IGR and you cannot show anything. There's no infrastructure that we can see on ground. The 21 roads that is being done, the motor parks that are being done are local government projects. I cannot tie that to my project as a governor. It is too little for me to deliver these kind of projects to my people as a governor. As a local government chairman, yes, it goes. A little flyover in Lekki, yes. The local government chairman can do that. The bus stops around, the local government chairman can do that. When a governor steps out to come and commission a bus stop, is a slap on my face. Alimo showed from Agege, and I see refuse dump. The amount of refuse that is in Olushosu, the amount of refuse that is in Oshodi Solo, the amount of refuse that is enough to make people sick. It's fundamental environmental pollution situation. It's a state of emergency. I can tell you that in the first year of office, you will not see it. For the past 16 years, we have been at standstill. Look at now, 4 years is over. What have we gotten? We have not gotten a first-class school, first-class university. We've not gotten a first-class hospital. We've not gotten a first-class anything, not even a first-class library.
We've heard so much about your vision and the things you want to bring in. But then there is this one thing I know must have triggered that drive inside of you that you think Lagos is lost. And now you want to restore. What is that one thing?
Thank you very much. My great uncle, Chief Deji Doherty, he was the first senator that represented Lagos. The Doherty family had supported the creation of Lagos State from the initial, since it was conceived in their house.
The case of security now in Lagos is becoming something else. Those are supposed to be protecting us, making sure that we are secured, are the ones more or less threatening us. Let's look at the case of SARS. We know they are supposed to do one thing and now they are doing another. This other thing is really threatening our youth. The youth are crying. The End SARS campaign, the government is not really listening to it. What do you have to do about this?
Well, like I've always said, the protection of lives and property is the first job of the executive governor of the state. He's also the chief security officer of the state. So it is his responsibility to make sure that this does not happen. Social imbalances create bad, a questionable security environment. Once there's a total imbalance, that means the gap between the rich and the poor is so wide. You understand? Then the social human behavior transforms into bad against good. So one is to make sure that there's a trickle-down system whereby those at the bottom of the echelon get what they're supposed to get from government. Education should be free. Health for certain people should be free. Transportation for anybody over 67, 68, retirement age, should be free. School children's movement to school and back on bus should be free. There are basic things of life that must be free. And those things are the things that can drive the security situation to the lowest level. Then, the security people themselves have to be taken care of. If you don't take care of their welfare, then they will take care of themselves on the street. In Lagos State, the Commissioner of Police and the state governments have tried their best to a certain extent. It was quite bad before. They are doing a little bit, but it's not good enough. We will do it better come 2019. And I'm assuring you, you can never kill, you can never remove bad people from the society, but you can definitely reduce their activities to the barest minimum.
There is also a very pressing issue in Lagos State currently. Unemployment. Youths out there, they are on the streets of Lagos doing nothing, stealing, pressurizing people to make ends meet.
Yahoo.
Yahoo, most especially. They are at this point where they want to get a job, but because they don't have the right skill set to get all of this job, the employers cannot employ them because they don't have what they want. Because the system has not really provided, because they can provide for themselves. But this is becoming something that is kind of, or very well in the system, so, let's say bad, because the youth are the leaders of tomorrow. If they continue this way, who will lead us? They cannot continue in this mindset. Corruption is already in the system, in the youths, in their minds. If they continue this way, it will continue to be like that, even when they begin to rule. What do you intend to do differently from what has already been done?
I must tell you, it's a very, very good question. And unfortunately, we're living in, that's one of the reasons why I had said that I have to come out for governor of the state. Government is not the one that should drive employment. Government should create the conducive environment for the private sector to be able to drive employment. But it's the other way around. You see some of your colleagues, I'm sure, putting on LIRS T-shirts, becoming tax collectors. Do you understand? Some people being neighborhood watch. Do you understand? These are fire brigade employments. They don't take care of them when they're old. It's just for you to leave. What happens to them when they're old? What do they retire to? That is the reason why. And Deji Doherty, governor, come 2019, will go into the private sector. I come from the private sector. There's no governor, past governor in Lagos State that has come from the private sector. None. And that is the reason why they cannot appreciate it. If you overburden a company with tax, what you've done is that you've killed its zeal to employ, you've killed its zeal to expand, you've killed its zeal to create. And this is what Lagos State is doing. I can name both Lagos State and federal. You take one company, for instance, both Lagos State and federal, you pay TV tax, radio tax, parking permit tax, you pay local government merriment tax, you pay local government consumption tax, you pay Lagos State land use charge, you pay payee, you pay company tax, you pay, they're close to about 13 taxes. Now, these are the kind of taxes that government policies create, and then it stifles the private sector. They can't create jobs. And if the private sector. You saw the time when banks were laying off 2,000 people, 1,000 people, and things like that. When that happens, then you have strangulated the private sector. They've closed the door on employment, and then what happens? The students are on the street. I pray that the students it doesn't get to a point where the students that are unemployed, the youths that are employed, get on the streets and demand employment. That will be the day. But government should understand, both at the federal and at the state, that the conducive environment for private sector to thrive can only help government and can only help the people to grow.
It's gradually becoming one of the most populous cities in the world. We do not have space for immigrants as it is, because we see people coming in from different states and they end up staying on the streets. Landlords are complaining of land use charges. That is the reason why they are increasing the house rent and people are left homeless. The citizens are also left in a position where they cannot even provide a meal for their family, not to talk of paying such high bills when it comes to house rent and even NEPA bills. And this is quite, it's bringing the system to a point where people can no longer take it. Is there something you want to say to address this?
What you have asked is clear. Total misgovernance, bad governance. You understand? And it is something that I have spoken about, I've decided, I've looked at it, I've studied it, and I've looked at ways and means that we can address these issues. The issue of Lagos is a very typical one, and I believe that getting people of repute together to look at the issues that are bothering Lagos is something that we are already putting in place. Unfortunately, I don't want to start giving out too many answers to all these problems, because I see a situation whereby these answers are already being executed out there. But infrastructures and different things that need to be done could be done instead of sharing money. Instead of the federal government sharing $350 million of Abacha loot. Instead of our governor giving out 100 million to clubs and 50 million to different other clubs. Instead of giving CDAs that belong to the APC checks of 2.5 million and sharing money as if money is out of fashion. You understand? I wouldn't want to answer so many of these questions that you're asking because the answers are there. But the government that we have right now, they latch onto it and go ahead and do it, and you believe that they are the creators of the whole thing. Let us give an example of the railway stations that are being commissioned. These are railway stations that were being set up by the past PDP governments, and we have commissioned most of them. They are recommissioning them. Just because you put a staircase, then you want to recommission the whole thing. Just because you put an office by the side of the railway, then you want to recommission the whole thing. These are not the things that we want to be associated with. You know, I believe that Deji Doherty coming in as governor of Lagos State will bring a total difference to what we can see in Lagos today, in terms of education, in terms of housing, in terms of transport, in terms of taxation. You understand? You know, the taxes are something that is very vital to me in terms of treasury openness, accountability, responsibility to the people in terms of health, which is very important, in terms of women empowerment, in terms of empowerment for the disabled, in terms of empowerment for the youth, and then most especially sports and agriculture. Lagos State is also an agri-based state, especially when you talk about fisheries. You understand? These are areas that I want to look into. These are areas that I want us to focus on.